Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Behind the Goals on drn1.com.au. I'm John. Joining me is Anthony. It's a beautiful Sunday morning. The footy's on. Teams are beating every other team. I don't know what's going on, but it's all a bit crazy. Is
it a beautiful Sunday morning where you are, John?
Yeah, it is, but it's bloody cold. It's bloody cold.
Yeah, because you're down in your holiday home, right? You're down there living it up down there. You've lost touch with the common man, eh?
I'm very rich. I will have you know that I am very rich. I have a lot of money. I'm very good at using money.
Yeah, very well.
Spending it on holiday homes. No, I'm down here at my folks' house. We're in Albany. It is quite the time, but it is bloody cold. And Anthony, how are you today? You look a little bit cold. You've got your beanie on. What's going on?
Well, I couldn't do my hair for you, and I know how much you like to see it done well or not done at all.
Yeah, so. I do demand it. Look, this is not my show. This is our show. Yeah. However, I still demand good hair.
You do. So I'm not sure. Look, if I can't afford the old big freeze beating, just good cause.
We love it. We love the big freeze. We do love the good causes.
How great is it that you can get them from like Coles and Bunnings and stuff now?
Yeah, that is really good, isn't it? That's pretty incredible. My apologies if you hear a little bit. The old lovers, my old mother has woken up. She's put the bloody kettle on, so it's going to be a bit noisy. But Anthony, big news first. Before we get into the games, before we do our reviews and previews, we're going to get into the big news of the weekend.
Oh, there's some news, was there?
Yeah, well, look, if you haven't been listening, you probably would have missed it. It hasn't been. I think it was mentioned once. I think it was mentioned once or twice. But obviously, Connor McKenna. That's right. Yeah, I forgot his name for a second there. He's tested positive for Connor McKenna tested positive for coronavirus. It happened. Yesterday? It happened yesterday, and it has thrown. Well, it hasn't thrown everything into chaos yet, but we thought that it might shut down footy. We thought there was a lot going around. There was a lot of rumours. There was a lot of things happening. So, Anthony, let me tell you the timeline of this. Let me tell you how it happened, and then what I want is for you to give us your lowdown on fantasy and what it means. So for me, I have 4 players in my team, and big week actually. It's a big week because you and I are playing each other.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we are. And look, we'll get into that in a second. And I've got some good news for myself and then some bad news for myself. And anyway, it's all a mess. But the Connor McKenna timeline, when I first heard the news, I thought it was irresponsible. I thought it was mismanaged. I thought that someone had to be at fault, right?
Yeah. But, well, it's Essendon. You thought something was up.
Right. I heard a rumor that he came back and then something like 8 days later he returned to training, which obviously is outside the 12-day that they recommend, the 2 weeks. But we have a timeline. So we know the timeline, and we know that on the 16th of May, so last month, over a month ago, he returned from Ireland and he self-isolated. So he did that. He did that for 2 weeks, and on June the 1st, he returned to Essendon training. So he's done his 2 weeks. He had no symptoms. He was good to go. Returned to training. And then on the 17th of June, so we're talking a full month after he got back from Ireland, he got tested for COVID, and he was negative. So 2 days later, 19th of June, he returned negative, did a main training session, and then got tested again that day. So Friday, June 19th, tested again, even after it was returned negative. And then on the Saturday, June the 20th, it came back as a low-grade irregularity. Now, I don't know what that means, but...
so it means it's not fully confirmed that they found it in the system, but it is not healthy, pretty much, is what they've said, is that, there's something up here, we don't know what it is.
There's something. So that was presumably the morning of June the 20th yesterday. So that was presumably in the morning. And then presumably in the afternoon, he... was informed that he tested positive, and of course that's when we found out. And
so it's not only that, because I mean a lot of people are hanging it on Essendon right now because it's fun to do. But
of course it's fun to do. It's great to do.
But and when things go badly, it's good to one have a scapegoat and 2 laugh about it. But the fact is, he went to training that morning where he was told before he entered, your test result is dodgy. Go get another test.
Yep.
So that was the captain's run. he didn't train with his group then. So there's this whole like, oh man, like yesterday they kept showing the same footage of him training the couple of days earlier, where he's like spitting on the floor every chance he got, or like blowing his nose. Like they've caught him once or twice. They've caught him once or twice doing it and like looped it while they're talking about it. It's like,
but every player does that, don't they? I do that on the field. I'm not even elite.
I'm not a fan of the old Bushman's blow. I've never have been, but
nah, I don't do that.
but players do it.
They do it. They do it. But look, if you're on the field and you don't have a tissue, then what else are you going to do, right? The old Bushman's blow. Oh. It's a good old thing to do. I personally won't do it, and clearly you won't. But yeah, you're right. I don't
know. I'll be honest with you, man. I think the reason I don't do it is because I can't. I know it's going to end up in my hand. Or like, so like, I don't know how they aim it. Like,
and look, to be honest, I've got a mustache. It's not happening. It's not going to happen. You know.
Yeah.
It's just anyway. This is not a show about bloody nose boogers. It's a show about footy. So they've got this loop on, but he's done everything he possibly could, hasn't he?
Yeah. Like once you have a look at how the timeline's set up, you're saying he hasn't really done anything wrong here.
Neither has Essendon.
Even the training group he was with when that footage was taken.
Oh, I think we've lost Anthony there. But look, as he's back now. Anthony, you with us?
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. So he was training with the 8 players in his group, in his defensive group. You know, so he hasn't gone outside of that. The worry they have is that after that session, they went into a weight session together.
Yep.
So when you're outside, it's a lot easier to, you know.
Well, especially in the sun, and if the wind's blowing, and there's a lot of different things that can happen. Anthony's we've lost him again. But so essentially, what's the issue is that he has tested positive. He has been training with his buddies, and that there is a real risk that he has spread that to them. So the problem that we now have is that Essendon may not be able to play for up to 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks. They may not be able to play. And we're not sure what that's going to mean for the season. We don't know. Presumably they will postpone all of the games that Essendon has. And, I'm just going to keep going with this until Anthony comes back.
I was just going to say, I'll help you out.
No, he'll come back. It'll be fine.
The AFL has announced that Essendon will be suspended until for the season. So it looks like Essendon's out of this
so it
year.
Looks like Essendon's out. I think Anthony's back with us again. Anthony, you there, mate?
That's massive news if it is. Is that right?
Yeah, I haven't seen that. Where did you get that, Russ?
I got that from my partner who was watching Channel 7 News.
Oh, yes, it's probably not true. It's probably not true if it's on Channel 7 News. I haven't seen that on the AFL website. So 4 hours ago, Damien Barrett said that a random fixture might be on the cards. We just don't know. So if Channel 7, look, this is big news, and I do want to
look. The thing is, they've had protocols in place, and they've had.
No, we lost him again. We lost him. He might have to hotspot.
What's going on with the internet here, eh?
Yeah, you might have to hotspot your phone, mate. But there's
look, you keep talking, man.
Yeah, you hotspot off your phone, and I'll keep going. Look. It is big news, and it's funny that Russ said that gone for the season off Channel 7. Look, that may be true, that may not be true. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Let's just call it. Let's just call it. Let's make
calling it. Yeah. Hashtag big calls. Hashtag big calls. So look, Essendon might be out for the season. We're not sure. We're not sure what's going to happen. There might be a randomised fixture. There might be a lot of things.
Can I just ask one question?
Go ahead, Russ.
Do you think that it's fair to postpone this game? Because to me, I would have awarded a win to the Melbourne Demons, because to me, I think that it's not their fault that the other team got COVID or a player got COVID.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be happy with that purely because it's not Essendon's fault either. It's not Connor McKennan's fault. You know, we know that it's highly contagious. We know that it goes around. Obviously, he's, when we look at the timeline and as I explained the timeline there, we know that he did everything that he possibly could. We know that Essendon did everything they possibly could, and yet it still happened, and he was still training. And so I do think that postponing the game is the right thing to do, and I think Anthony would probably be in agreement with me there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So Anthony, tell us what this means for fantasy and Supercoach and what.
All right.
What
so there's
what
three main formats, and they're all, or not all, but they're kind of approaching it differently. All right. So if you break it down, you've got Supercoach first. We'll have a look at. So Supercoach and what we call RDT, which is Real Dream Team. That's the other format for Dream Team that they've got. Mm-hmm. Both kind of run by the same people. So they've gone the same approach, which is they're treating it like a buy round. So this is your salary cap formats, not your draft formats, right? So they're just treating it like a buy round and saying your best 18 players are going to be your score, right? Mm-hmm. So whether that's fair or not, that's
how it is.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. Because I mean, obviously, there's going to be some people who have higher priced players in their midfield or whatever, like people who have Max Gawn, Clayton Oliver, Jack Viney, Shield, these guys who are scorers. They're going to be missing out on those scores because other people who instead have, say, Lachie Neale are going to get Lachie Neale scores. So it's not 100% fair, but it's what they're doing. Mm-hmm. It's how they're getting through this. So
sure.
If you are in that boat right now, because those competitions also have rolling lockouts. So that lockout now, and the next one's not happening until the Gold Coast game, obviously. Get on right now if you haven't. Put all your players who are from Melbourne and Essendon onto the bench, because you've possibly got someone like Connor Bitterick or someone from Gold Coast or even Sam Sturt from Fremantle. You've got a rookie or something on the bench right now that you weren't playing. Put him on the field, because his score could be better than, say, like, this is your chance to have, say, if you had Lachie Whitfield in your team, who pumped out a massive 10 points in fantasy.
Yep, which you have. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, but, well, this is the thing. I'm not going to get that score because he's not in my best 18 scorers in the salary cap format.
You said that was regular. What? Obviously, we're talking about draft here. What does that mean for draft?
What looks like is happening for draft is that they might be doing the same thing, so treating it like a buy round, which just means you're stuffed. Mm-hmm. Like, there's really nothing you can do there, especially if your league doesn't have rolling lockouts.
Yep, which ours doesn't.
Yep, it just means that those players on your field aren't going to play. It's like a normal buy round where you just wouldn't have those players playing. Mm-hmm. So that's not great news for our matchup. It kind of takes away the integrity of it. I hope to see you in finals, but right now.
So let's just talk about our matchup. Supercoach draft. We're playing each other. And
I sent through the matchup to Russ there. So
Russ is going to put that up
screen. If people want to have a look at our teams there.
Now, look, I'm not happy. I was happy the other day because obviously, Lockie, you have
good week, man.
Yeah, look, you have Whitfield. Haynes scored well. Jacobs scored okay, but Whitfield got 8. That's what he got in Supercoach. And look, you've got Gaff as your captain, 234, 99 for Shepherd, 93 for Selwood, 89 for Hearn, 76, and then 20 for Stephen. So Stephen, not so great. Look, I have not had an amazing week. I really haven't. Tom Lynch, Edwards, 61, 55, 74, 61, 62, 84, 71, and then Grundy only 206. So I haven't had a good week. I've got 2 80s on my bench and a 60 on my bench.
Well, look, I was actually sending you messages being like, "Oh man, I don't know how I'm going to do this," but I was quietly confident because even with Whitfield's score of 8 or whatever sitting there at the time, we'd both had, I think, 3 players playing, and I was 100 points up on you with that score there.
Yeah, because, but also, I did have a lot of players to come and some potentially big scorers, in Rosie and
of course, Ben Cunnington going out late as well.
Yeah, and you lost Cunnington, and I see that he's been dropped to your bench. Which
so look, Florent came in for him.
Yeah, and look, to be honest, I think what I'm not happy about is it's a buy round, but it's not a buy round that we were told about. And
no, but it's never going to be even either, because like you'd have right now your chance to move those players to the bench and bring on players who because that's what you do before a bye round starts.
Yeah,
you
and
take
look,
all the players who aren't playing to the bench.
I've got 5 bench players that will all play. All of my bench players will play. They're all playing. So, what they should be doing is instead of making it a bye round, the players that don't play from those 2 teams allow you to or put in those bench players that do score.
Have as much bench coverage because right now, because with Supercoach draft, you only ever get 1 bench player score and it's the lowest score.
Yeah.
But, if they could tweak it to say any bench player you have who scored will replace any, even if they do it from lowest to highest, whatever.
Yeah, doesn't matter. But
then you've got multiple scorers there. So
yeah, and you've got 1. I've got 4.
I would have none on there.
Yeah, it's a loss for me.
I've got no bench covers. But look, so that's what's happening with Supercoach draft, we believe. We'll find out what happens more about that.
Well, no, that's exactly what's happening. I'm looking at it. It says buy.
They've done it, have they?
Yeah, it's got buy up there. I've refreshed it, and look, I'm not happy about it. The Eagles lost. Arsenal lost last night. I'm going to lose in Supercoach again, which it was going to be a close matchup, and it's not now.
So the other side of the coin, we'll just move on just a little bit from our own dramas, is AFL Fantasy has gone a different way with it.
Yeah, what have they done?
So they're not doing a buy round formats. What they're looking at doing is giving you the average score of that player. So
okay, interesting.
So that's what they're looking at doing. They're still tweaking it. So there's a bit of a rumor out there in the fantasy world of how they're going to do it. It's looking like the average looks like the easiest thing to do. But it also looks like they may be looking at saying, all right, well, this is what our projected score would be. This is what they're averaging. Let's find an average of those, and that's the score they'll get.
Yeah.
Right? Ultimate Footy, which is another another draft format that you've got out there in the world. They only do draft in Ultimate Footy. There's a lot of people that play that. What they're doing is they're giving you the player's projected score, but they're tweaking the projected score to be realistic. So they're spending time right now going through all the Melbourne and Essendon scores to make sure that their projected score was actually a realistic projected score. Sure.
And I actually would like that for Supercoach draft.
Yeah.
All of my Zach Merritt projected 122, 82 for both Langdon and Harms, and 78 for Ridley. So
I'll be honest, man. Between our teams, I sat there looking at them last night, saying, "Okay, well, I thought they were going to get the average scores.
Yeah,
I thought that's the way they were going with it." And I think Zach Merritt's on like 120 something for an average, 130 or something. Yeah. Some good averages there, man. I was worried. But anyway, so that's what it looks like the fantasy teams are going. If you've got, like I said, if you've got a rolling lockout right now, go make those changes. Get those players onto your benches, unless it is fantasy or ultimate footy, then you're better off leaving them on the field because they're going to go all right. So if you're in Supercoach or you're in Real Dream Team, get those players onto your bench right now.
Well, look, the problem though there is that we only have 2 more games. So unless you have bench players from
that's what I mean. So a lot of people do have Gold Coast rookies on their bench right now, or like I said, Sam Sturt or someone like that from Fremantle, Port Adelaide. Some people have Todd Marshall, guys like that. You know what I mean? So there are a lot of rookies possibly on the bench right now, and regardless, your rookie will probably score better than a Whitfield, or some people like Curse Taylor on the field who scored 30. Like you're giving yourself a chance to move those players' scores out of your best 18.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All
right. Well, look, let's get into the footy action. Starting on Thursday night, it was obviously the Richmond Tigers and the Hawthorn Hawks. Anthony, a bit of an upset here. The Hawks beating Richmond 71-39. I watched this game. I've watched every game of Richmond's, and I have to be honest, they're not looking good. They're not looking good. Tell us what you saw, how you saw it, what's going wrong, what's happening.
I just want to highlight something from the start. We said this, I think last week as well. Marley and Pickett, I don't think is in their best 22.
No, he's not. He had one excellent game in the grand final last year. He shouldn't be playing. He should not be in that team.
Like he got run down on the boundary at one point, where he just looked like he thought he had all the time in the world to go collect his ball in the pocket and just like lumbered after it with the guy right on his tail. And that was actually, for me, the story of the whole game.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Hawthorn just wanted the ball or wanted the man with the ball. And Richmond were just going through the motions in slow motion. And also got to say, Ben McAvoy.
Big boy McAvoy.
I think I can't remember if we were saying this discussion, but saying about, they're too tall in their back line especially playing Richmond. You can't go in that tall. He shut Lynch down.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh, look, mate. Let's not talk about Lynch. I don't want to.
But that's McAvoy.
I know.
Oh, man.
He shouldn't be shutting Lynch down. But this is the problem with Lynch. Lynch is not an AFL footballer. He's not. He's a VFL footballer. Lynch is not good enough to play in the AFL. And I said this last week. I did say this last week.
You're saying this from a point of view of
no. I have said this from the very start. I thought this was going to be his breakout year. I don't think he's good enough. I think he has one good game every month, perhaps, and that is enough to keep him in the side.
Usually against a bunny team like Richmond would just destroy someone and they've got no matchup for Lynch.
Yep, I don't think he is any good.
Saying that, though, he looked a lot better than Riewoldt.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Riewoldt and we know Riewoldt can play.
But and we do. But the thing is with Lynch is that I watch him because I have him in my team. Everyone knows that. Everyone that listens to the show know I have him in my team. It's love hate, more hate. I don't love him at all. But I watch him a lot. I watch him like a hawk, and that's exactly what the Hawks did, I guess. But he often runs under the ball. I think probably 80% of the time he runs under the ball. I do want to highlight
something here, and it's a theme that I think we're going to come across a lot in this round because it did come up a lot. But when you put pressure on the midfield enough that they don't have clean kicks going into the forward line. And that's what Richmond did. Their entries into the forward 50 were but I'm below what they usually are.
I'm not just talking about this week. I watch him a lot every single week, and he runs under the ball every single week. 80% of the time, he is underneath the ball. He cannot read the flight of the ball. He can't do it. And it shows. Just watch him. Anyone watching the show, Anthony, listen, anyone listening, watch him. Watch him next week. I guarantee you 80% of the time he runs under the ball. He cannot read the flight. What's that?
Who have they got next week?
Let's have a look. But anyway, so how did Richmond lose? What happened? What did the Hawks do better than
They just killed it next week. He's going to come up.
No, he won't. He'll run under the ball 80% of the
time. So Richmond just attacked the ball carrier. They wanted it. That's all it was. Hawthorn, sorry. That's all it was. And Richmond just weren't there to play.
No, they weren't.
And it's not a case. And look, when you have one team just so far above in the pressure rating, it can make another team look slow, look old, everything like that. But Richmond just weren't playing their game. And usually when they're doing that, they do look for someone like Dusty Martin to give him something, to move himself forward, to move himself into the midfield, to inject a bit of. They didn't have someone able to then go, I'm going to take this game and give us something.
To step up, yeah. No one
Cochin
really
worked his ass off, but he just has this workman-like level that he stays at.
Mm-hmm.
It's not enough to take a team on your back and say, come on, guys, we need to do better.
Yeah.
And when they don't have Martin doing that, when Riewoldt isn't having an influence, because Riewoldt's another one who can do that, he can say, you know what? No, I'm going to kick all 8 goals for us today.
Yeah, and he's done it before.
Yeah, there was just no one there doing that for them, but also Hawthorn weren't giving him a chance.
Yeah. Hawthorn were a much better side.
And this isn't like a lot of the time we'll sit here and say, because Alistair Clarkson. But if Alistair Clarkson did anything, it was just lighting a fire under Hawthorn because they didn't change structures.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't change pretty much anything from the week before except their intent on the ball. That's all it was. It's all in the head. It's all in the headspace. We're going to talk about this a bit today, but that's what it is.
Go ahead.
Sorry. If you're 20% off, you're going to get done at AFL level. If you're like they were 60% off, you can get flogged.
Yeah, and so you're right. We are going to talk about that a lot this week because it's not just Richmond that we've seen it. We've seen it in a lot of teams. That the teams that are winning are the ones that are going in harder. The pressure is there. They're the teams that are really just putting in the effort. And look, you would expect that the teams that put in the effort to win, but it's not just that, is it? It's different. It's different this season with the shorter quarters and everything that's going on. The teams that are putting
because there's not enough time to turn a game around if you're
exactly.
off.
Yep. There's no junk time. There's no,
There's no time for that team who is applying this incredible amount of pressure to say we can't sustain this for a full 30 minutes a quarter. And then your other team gets a roll on, then maybe gets 1 or 2 quick goals that steamroll, and then they start coming back. Yep. But that's not there anymore. It's 16 minutes of intense pressure, and then they get a break and come out and do it again because they're confident. Whereas the other teams had 16 minutes of just nothing we're doing is working. And then it's like quicksand. Yeah,
you're right. And so, I've seen a lot of commentary about the 16-minute quarters, and I know we're going back to it next season, but why are we persisting this season? Why do we keep them on? Because the whole
we're finding out right now while we're doing it, because they're going to have to squeeze it a round in right now.
Yeah, sure. But the whole point was that they were going to have to squeeze in a couple of games every single week. That's not happening now. I think if you do 4 games, you can do 2 games a week. I mean, these players are elite. These players are running, they're doing 17 plus in the beep test. They're running kilometers every day. They can run out 2 games a week. They can. So why are we persisting with 16-minute quarters? I don't know.
I do think that as much as you're saying they're elite athletes, they can do it, everything like that. The 5-day breaks take it out of teams. It does. It's been shown it does, because it's not just running for a big test. You're getting hit, you're getting up, you're getting physical contact, everything like that. So I don't think our squad sizes are big enough to say if a player's sore, we have to rest them for this midweek game. Then the talent you have that comes up doesn't replace who you've just dropped. You might have to rest 3 or 4 players. The guys you're bringing up aren't up to the standard. And then, so you say, oh, well, we can't afford to drop this player. You play them sore, they get injured, they're out for the next.
Happy with it. I want
however many weeks.
I'm happy with it. Good. Look, I'll tell you what, mate. Make them play. They're getting the big bucks, aren't they?
Make them play. Make them all hub.
Make them hub. Make them play.
All right, look, they get paid enough.
Let's go through some Dream Team Supercoach scores for this game. Obviously, on Richmond's side, you had your stalwart Hooley was one of the big scorers, and then Short there. And then on the other side, your boy Sicily, you love him. He did well. He got 128, but only 77 Dream Team. And I'll get your thoughts on why it was so big for Supercoach there. But the big news there is O'Meara, 142 Supercoach, 85 Dream Team, 23 possessions and a goal.
Look, I did speak a little bit out of turn when I said that the only difference between the teams from this week and last week were intent. Mm-hmm. O'Meara changes their lineup a lot. Yeah. It gives them a lot more to do in there. It gives them another option because he's an inside-outside runner. He can win the ball inside and take it outside himself, or have the ball fed to him outside. So he did change their makeup a little bit through that midfield, but you can't say that was all it was, because him being there then allowed Wingard to get more freedom when he came into the middle.
Yeah, and he needs his freedom, doesn't he, Wingard? He
does. If you clamp down on him, he's not going to perform.
Yeah, and so why didn't they clamp down on Wingard, knowing that? What didn't they do? Was it just a case of not having Dusty there, and so they didn't have that? I don't know. Richmond's belief in their own system
is too strong to say that we have to negate another player. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? So they're saying, no, we can go head-to-head with any team in the competition and beat them without having to stop one of their players.
Yeah, which obviously hasn't worked. That's not the case anymore, is it?
No, and it's not even that people have figured them out. I think it's just between the ears.
Arrogance?
Yeah, I mean, you look after the game, and of course, you don't want them being like having a cry when they lose. But you don't want guys like Marley and Pickett and Bolton sitting there laughing to each other about what just happened after the game.
Yeah, I know.
You just got smashed.
Both of them 38 Dream Team points, 9 and 10 touches for Bolton and Pickett respectively, and only 1 goal, 1 for Bolton. That's not what you want to see, is it? You want your players. You want to see those players head in hands.
Well, they've just given it their all and gone, what do we do wrong? Where can we improve?
Yep, and they're not doing that.
Obviously, as West Coast fans, we just copped a massive loss again. But right after that game, they're sitting in the room with their heads in their hands, getting talked to by the coach, saying, this isn't good enough.
And look, we are going to talk about the West Coast game, and it's one of those games where the team with the better pressure won, or the team that wanted it. You could see it. But let's look. Okay, that's what we've got. We a few big scorers: Amira, Wingard, Sicily on Hawthorn. You had Short and Hooley on the other side with Richmond. A bit of an upset, but I said it 2 weeks ago, and I said it again last week, and I will say it again this week. Anyone can beat anyone, and we saw that with another game that happened last night. But before we get to that game, we're going to talk about the Doggies and Western Sydney. Look, another upset. Probably not as much of an upset as some of what we've seen.
This was a great game to watch.
It was a really good game. So the Doggies running out 57 to 33 winners over the Giants. Give us your thoughts. What did you see?
Right. So they've been built up this rivalry of, but I honestly believe that GWS takes this rivalry a lot more seriously than the Bulldogs do.
Yeah. Well, look, the Bulldogs are in Victoria. They've got a lot of teams to play.
But it's like, so even from the start of it, it's like you can tell GWS were thinking about their history and everything. Bulldogs were thinking about winning the game.
Yeah.
So to start the game, Nick Haynes comes in and does the center toss where he takes the center circle, like walks into it. That's like a power move. That's thought about. That's not thinking about the game. That's like doing a power stance before a grand final. You're not thinking about the game. You're thinking about posturing for the game, 100%. And that just kind of set the tone for me for the whole game. GWS are hunting the players.
Yep.
Bulldogs were hunting the ball, but hard.
Would we say arrogance again? Would we say
no,
arrogance?
I say it's just like they've just misplaced the priorities of the game.
Yeah, you're right. It was more about the player, but it was a great game. And look, they're trying to stand.
You do love a bit of that biff.
I loved it. It was great.
Saying that, I did tweet out something during this game, and it got a bit out there.
Oh yeah, what'd you say?
I said that Jeremy McGovern was sitting in his hotel room watching this game, saying, "Yep, that's a week. Yep, that's a week.
And
that's
look,
a week."
It should. That there's a lot of players that should be getting suspended. Will they? I don't know.
Well, they haven't. They decided.
Yeah.
So it's different rules, different things, of course. We said that before, but it looks how it is. So even Norton, I'm glad Norton actually got off. As much as I saw Whitfield go down and went, oh man, that stuffed me. He went for the ball. Yeah. And this is another thing where I think GWS was going the man when it was easy to go the man. The Bulldogs were going the ball and taking the man if they were in the way.
Mm-hmm.
So the Bulldogs were and that's an example of it. Whitfield went kind of short steps for it, thought he could take the ball without committing the body, and Norton just ran through him. And he didn't deserve any time. I'm glad he hasn't been. Because
look, it wasn't a suspendable offence, was it?
No, it wasn't malicious,
No, it wasn't.
But I think once again, that's just to make of the whole game. It was GWS were trying to look tough, trying to make a statement, trying to do what they do, and the Bulldogs actually win the game.
Yeah, and they looked good, and no one looked better than, well, let's say McRae and Daniel. McRae is just getting better. Is he? I think he's like 24. McRae?
Yeah, he's young. So
he's incredible, isn't he?
Look, last week he wasn't scoring as well, wasn't getting much of the ball, but he got bevoed. You don't want to get bevoed, do you? No, you don't. So
you
Bevo
really
had him. I think he only attended like 2 center bounces last week, but he was out in the wing and being pushed forward. But this week he's back in the midfield doing what he does, and that's what he is. He's an inside midfield. Just let him get in there and get the ball.
Put him in there. Don't mess around with it. But look,
and Dunkley was the same.
Dunkley was good there. Only 16 touches and a goal, but he scored well, and he did have an impact.
It was what he does with the ball.
Yeah, very, very good.
Yeah,
and they didn't even miss Hunter, did they?
No, I mean, and also didn't really miss Bontempelli.
No, and so there's something I did want to get your thoughts on. Look, Bontempelli, 16 touches, a goal. He scored pretty well in Supercoach, but it is another scalp for De Boer, isn't it? It's another scalp.
Oh, yeah.
How good is he? How good is De Boer? Is he the best tagger in the game?
What I love about De Boer is he's just single-mindedly, I need to stop my player.
Yeah, he doesn't care, does he?
When a whole team is like that, like GWS were, it's not great. But when you've got one tagger and they're saying, my job is to stop this player.
And he did it.
Who was it? Someone took a mark over Bontempelli, and De Boer celebrated like they just won the grand final because the player he's playing on had a mark taken over him. Like it was this mentality that he has where just I have to make my player look bad and beat them at all cost.
I love him. And look, I can't remember. And you will remember. Why did Freo get rid of him?
Wasn't in the best 22.
Boy, oh boy.
So GWS got him for nothing.
Mate.
Yeah. He went there as, I believe, a free agent or a restricted free agent or something, delisted agent.
But big call. It's not even a big call, this one. He's the best tagger in the game. He is hands down the best tagger in the game.
But the fact is, he wasn't being used as a tagger of Freo. He was a half forward / wingman / midfielder.
Nothing. He was a nothing sort of player, wasn't he? He didn't have a role.
To Hutchings. Hutchings was the same kind of player at St Kilda. Mm-hmm. And then it was, you're going to be a tagger when you got to West Coast.
Yep.
You know, and it happens to these players. One player it's happened to that it shouldn't is Jack Steele. Jack Steele at St Kilda is an amazing midfielder. He wins the ball.
Yeah, don't have him tagging.
But he is a good tagger.
Yeah, but he shouldn't be.
You're wasting.
St Kilda need him. Yeah.
But he's always been a really good fantasy scorer. And that's what's frustrating about it because taggers just don't score.
No, they don't. And look, De Boer shut down Bontempelli. He only had 9 touches and 38 Dream Team, 53 Super Coach, 85 minutes on the ground. So they don't score. The only tagger that does score is, I think, Elliot Yeo when he's tagging. He is the only player that gets the ball and scores well while tagging.
Also racks up tackles.
Yeah, he does. He racks up. Well,
whereas most taggers just worry the player out of it.
Yeah. But
Yeo waits for them to get it and pounces.
Yeah, he does. And I love seeing Yeo and Fife go up against each other. 2 amazing players. And, you know, in any particular day, either one of them can best the other. And that's what I love about it. But back to this game. So let's a few fantasy scores. Anthony, who impressed fantasy-wise for you?
Well, Tim English did a bit more than he's been doing. And he's a player who I just don't have that level of respect for at this stage. I know everyone's saying he's going to be good. But I can't see it right now.
I can't see it. You know what? I can't watch English. I can't watch him play. I don't know. I think he just looks like a pasty Gumby. I don't know what it is.
But look, he did all right this game, so you've got to give him that.
Yeah, you've got to give him it. But Jesus, I'm with you.
But the reason he did all right is because he played on Jacobs, right? And Jacobs is a good ruckman, but English is a good runner.
Yeah,
and used that to get around the ground, and Jacobs couldn't go with him.
Yeah, so 78 Dream Team, 120 Super Coach.
He became kind of like a lead-up player when he wasn't rucking.
Yeah.
And gave them a lot of kick-out options and had no defender on him because Jacobs couldn't go with him on a short sprint kind of thing. So he's not going to get that every week, and we know that from English, but that's how we're looking there. Liberatore came back.
And he looked all right. He looked okay.
Yeah, looked good. Kicked that goal that put them up and started a fight in the third quarter. Of course, that's what you want from Liver.
62 Dream Team, 101 Super Coach.
Crozier across the back line again.
75% on the ground. That's great.
Yeah, so to come back from that, it looks good. Bailey Smith's ones I want to look at because he looked like he got affected a bit with Libba coming in. Mm-hmm. He got pushed out a little bit. So
yeah, I agree.
And went forward. Still scored okay Super Coach wise, but Dream Team he's been in the 80s, 90s. So he may have had his position taken a little bit with Libba coming back. So just keep an eye on that.
Let's just have a quick second to I've got the dog here. Let's have a quick second to appreciate his mullet when he runs.
So good.
What do you reckon?
So good. He reminds me of that dude from Stranger Things, Dusty Dust. What's his name? I can't remember. Anyway.
Yeah. On the other side, Western Sydney, Perryman. Very good.
Perryman just really took that mid role on the wing, which became available because Josh Kelly missed.
Yeah.
So
played out.
Perryman isn't going to score like this every week. That's the position he got because Josh Kelly didn't play.
Yep.
Don't expect it every week. Haynes, expect that most weeks. I do. And that's why I drafted him.
Well, that's why you've got him. Yeah.
Yeah. Hately is another guy who got the game because Josh Kelly.
Well, he was the late replacement for him.
This guy needs to be in this team. It's just an embarrassment of riches that GWS have in their midfield that doesn't get this guy a game every week because in any other team, he'd be in their best 22.
Yeah, he's a good player. Sorry, I'm just laughing. This bloody dog. It's wearing I'm gonna move the thing around. I'm gonna show you. It's wearing like a boxing thing. Hang on. Let's have a look here.
Here we go. Here we go.
Shadow.
What is going on here?
It's wearing it. Look, she's going boxing. Aren't you, Shadow? Hey, you gonna go boxing? Anyway, I had to show you that. That's bloody brilliant. I love it. I love that. But yeah. Look. Anyway, keep talking about Supercoach. I'm just going to let her in the other side of things because she's whining.
So obviously the downside of things here was Whitfield's 8 points and 10 Dream Team go. While John's away from the computer, I'm going to talk about that one because that hurt me in our matchup. Obviously, didn't get much game time, but with the 18 best 18, he's probably going to drop out of most teams anyway for that. So
who's that?
Whitfield, I was thinking about there. So we're going to move along now.
With amateur radio, you got to love it. You got to love it. Yeah. But look, don't get used to it because the vultures are circling. Well, not the vultures. Someone's going to pick us up. I'm telling you right now, we're probably going to be on Fox Footy next week. So don't get used to Anthony's.
It'll be when the Vic reporters all come down with COVID.
Yeah, we're in line. Look, it's happening. It's happening. You know it is. You know it's happening. You're watching. If you know it's happening because you're watching. You're watching it, and you'll watch it on Fox Footy. And we'll bring Russ along for the ride just because he's been good to us too, our show producer. All right, okay. Look, let's leave that game. We're running out of time because I'm not keeping time here. I will be honest. I'm extremely hungover, and so I'm not on the top of my game. But Next game. Another team that wasn't on the top of their game. North Melbourne getting beaten by the Sydney Swans, 71-60. Anthony, I had Sydney winning the Spoon this year, winning if you can say that. But they played well, didn't they?
Look, this is one of those games where I think both teams went hard. So this wasn't but Sydney did. Both these teams have this brand about them where it's contested, it's tight. You know these teams are going to do it. Mm-hmm. And Sydney, I think it's the first time we've seen them play that way in a little bit. Went back
they're just what they lack confidence, haven't they? I don't know what's been going on with Sydney, but they're just not. They're a good side. They've got some really good players.
Well, they always have been. This is the thing with Sydney. Like even when they're rebuilding, they're a good side. But you're like the players they've got through the draft because of father-son and zoning and everything like that. The Heaney's, your Mills, guys like this. They've never had to drop out because they've just had these players just waiting for them to come in. So anyway, look, the issue with Sydney that we thought was goal kickers, like avenues to goal, because Buddy's not there. They don't have any tall forwards. How do they get their goals? They answered that again this week with Heaney, Papley, and then just spread.
Dawson, Parker, Kennedy got a point, but then you've got Blakey, Taylor, Hayward. They're all on the scoreboard.
So they kicked 10 goals for the game, but only one player kicked more than one goal.
And that was Papley with 2 goals, 1.
Yeah, and he worked his ass off this game. Like he was up and down the ground. Just
he's a good player.
Some of his handballs in this game were incredible. Like how he set people into space. He was looking really good. You can see why Carlton were going so hard for him because he's a good player. We know he is. Yeah. Whereas you look at the flip side, they kicked 8 goals for the game, North Melbourne, but 3 of them were kicked by Brown. So
which one, you want him to get
goal kickers
3 a game anyway, but. Yeah. Look, he can't do it alone. He can't.
Yeah. But that's where this game was won and lost. It was Sydney's just really outmuscled them, and I think honestly Cunnington was the biggest loss here because when you go into the clinches and you want a contested ball, Cunnington does that for North Melbourne. And then Cunnington going out meant as soon as Higgins started getting off the chain, they clamped him down.
Yeah.
Whereas in the week previous, they started a tagger on Higgins. Sorry, they started a tagger on Cunnington.
And moved to Higgins.
Higgins got off the chain. They went to Higgins, and then Cunnington got off the chain. Yeah. And by that stage, it was...
As well with this game, you look at the dominance of Goldstein here, and when you've got your ruckman dominating that much, you really do miss someone like Cunnington, don't you? Because that's what they were lacking there. They were lacking
his first hands on the ball, feeding it outside,
Yeah.
In saying that, Simpkin really, really played well here, and he's continuing what looks like a breakout year. I'm a bit dirty on him because the last 2 years, I've picked up Simpkin in all teams thinking this kid's good. He's going to break out.
And he hasn't.
And this year I've been like, you know what? No, Simpkin. I've given you enough chances. You're just never going to do it. And he's breaking out. So I don't want to admit it, but Simpkin's good. And it's looking real.
And so you're look. I thought Lynch would have a breakout year this year. Didn't happen. Simkin, it's happening. It's happening. And he scored. He went huge, and I mean, it was helped by. So he had 26 touches. I think that was a game high. Yes, it was. But he was helped by 5 frees, 4, and that just shows a lot of effort, doesn't it? It just shows first of the ball.
That's all it is. First of the ball. But also you've got 4 tackles.
Yeah,
that's almost team high tackles right there. If I've managed.
And 1 goal, 1. So 1 goal, 1, 4 tackles, 26 touches, free, 5
Big
free,
game.
4.
Big game.
Huge. That is a huge game.
Hall's another one who.
Yeah.
Hall's one of those guys who. Do you remember when he played for Gold Coast? He went 3 rounds getting 3 votes.
Yeah,
he had nine votes after 3 rounds or something.
He was hyped at Gold Coast, wasn't he? And he sort of just disappeared from people's recognition.
It's what happens. Sometimes you're best 22 at Gold Coast and you just fringe at every other club.
Yeah,
it's the opposite of GWS.
Yeah, but he had a good game here. He had a good game.
Yeah, really stepped up.
He wasn't accurate in front of goal. 1 goal, 3. But he still scored well. 86 Dream Team, 104 Super Coach. He had a good game.
So one thing we did say at the start of the year with Sydney is that for them to win games, they really need guys they rely on guys like Candy and Parker to go big. If they don't, they're not going to win. And that's been kind of proven so far at 3 games. Because once again, Candy and Parker went big.
Yep.
And they won.
So Kennedy, bit of a magnet there. He 84 Dream Team, but 126 Super Coach, only 1 behind.
I wish we could do little kind of clips here, because there was a moment for Kennedy where they just showed his intent, because he picked up the ball in the middle, speared it to, I think it was Papley, but speared it too low. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of hit Papley's feet as he's gone for it. I'm not sure if it was Papley, I'm sorry, but the ball's bounced up.
Don't be sorry, just don't do it again.
And his opponents got the ball. And Kennedy shirt fronted him. So Kennedy was so dirty with his kick that he sprinted to the contest that he kicked to and nailed the player instead of it being a turnover. And then that was a turnover, and the Swans kicked a goal from it.
Yeah, and he had 6 tackles overall, and that's huge. That's a huge effort. Along with
the short game spans, what we're looking at is that, and this is what we're having to adjust, is that 30 touches aren't 30 touches anymore.
No, 25 is 30 touches.
25 is the new 30.
It is.
And 30 is the new 35 to 40.
Yep, it is. And so 30 touches in this new shortened game is a phenomenal effort. That is
for Candy to get 22 here.
Yep.
That'd be like getting 28.
Yeah.
Around there somewhere usually.
Six tackles.
It's a big game.
Yeah. And then also Heaney there as well.
The difference is, so that's where if Candy and Parker play well, Heaney's going to play well, because if they're playing well, it means the service they're getting into the forward line is what they need, and that's what Heaney's getting. Unfortunately, Heaney's only going to play well when he's get good service, because they're not letting him into that midfield. He's their only forward at this stage who can stand up there, take a mark goal. And
only 1 goal too. But as we said, there were a lot of players getting goals for Sydney.
But
so
one goal too shows opportunity.
Yeah, it does. Well, he had 8 marks, and I'm not sure how many of them were in the forward 50, but I would imagine
most. He didn't go into the back line. So
yeah.
And then Blakey up there with him as well.
Yep.
Look good.
Yep.
Hewitt's the player they used to tag, which is why his Supercoach scores a lot better than his Dream Team. Look at that differential right there.
So Dream Team 37, Supercoach 84. But he tagged Higgins and did a great job. On him. Yeah.
So Ollie Florence, the guy who I was paying attention to, because I bought him off the waiver wire this week, thinking he's going all right.
Yeah, 95.
And he's pumped out 95, so it's good to see there. Yeah, of course. Sinclair's a guy I'm laughing about.
Oh, mate.
We've been having this conversation in the background here of our little draft thing, where old mate Zach said, I meant to get Sinclair and got Naismith.
Yeah, he got Naismith instead of Sinclair, and then
got Sinclair this week for 37. But I tried to explain to him in the group is that Sinclair's not the number 1 ruckman. Naismith is.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I know.
When Naismith comes back, Sinclair's not going to be rucking.
And Sinclair, Sinclair has too small of a head to be number 1 ruckman. He's just got a little tiny head. He can't play.
Oh man, but he can't play with a head dominated by Goldstein this week.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Goldstein. I thought he was too old. I thought he was too slow. I thought he was over the hill. I thought he was done. Is he still a top 5 ruckman in the game?
Have a look at his game time.
Yeah, 96%, 35 hit-outs, 18 touches, 2 marks, 2 tackles, and then got 4 frees and a behind. He was a monster.
This dude's like a good wine.
How old is Goldstein? I need to check. But
I
how's he doing it?
only like 33 around there somewhere.
But even so, look, how's he doing it?
Yeah, drugs for sure.
He's 31. He's only 31.
Jeez.
So in fact, he's probably got 2-3 years left in him, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, you saw how long Sandy went for. He could be the next one.
Yeah.
He's just this lumbering body on body giant. But he's giving him so much around the ground as well.
Yeah.
And they're lucky he is because they don't have another ruckman right now who can do that.
No, who is their second? Who are they?
I think Magic
training
Door.
up? Oh yeah, no, come on. Who are they training up? Not Magic Door. He's not going to be a ruckman. Come on.
Well, they keep getting rid of their ruckman because Goldstein can't have someone ruck with them.
You can't. I know that, but you can't tell me that Magic Door is all they've got. You can't be telling me that.
No, he's their backup ruckman.
But who else have they got? Who else have they got? Magic Door's not going to be.
This is what I want you to do. Have a look down that list and see who else from North Melbourne got a hit out. The answer is no one.
Yeah, but I mean that's great as long as you've got Goldstein playing.
Yeah,
but
pretty much.
He's only got 2 or 3 years.
They've probably got someone down their list who's doing it. But even they had old mate from who went to Melbourne at the end of last year because he couldn't get a game with Goldstein there. Look. Honestly, we're pulling the piss out of him here. I think the guy's name we're looking for is Tristan Cherry, who's the one that's XERRI.
Cherry, yep.
Yeah, so he's if they were playing VFL right now, he'd be rucking for their VFL team. The problem is they can't play him in the same side as Brown because Goldstein has to be number 1 ruck and has to ruck, and then Cherry would be a forward, chopping out. So that's the issue right now is they've got this guy kind of languishing in no man's land because he can't play VFL because there's no VFL, and he can't play AFL because he will mess up their structures.
Yeah, fair. Look, fair. I just think that North Melbourne, they're very clearly in a rebuild. They've got a lot of good players coming through. I see that as a very serious issue for them in, let's say, 2-3 years. I think they're going to have it.
Well, I think 2-3 years. I think Cherry might be the guy we're looking at. But no, I can't remember his name. And it's doing my head in. But they did have someone coming through. He was an ex-NRL player.
Okay.
And
I know him.
He left and went to Melbourne for some reason. And that was just like he left because he wanted more opportunity. But he went to a team that has Max Gawn. It just made no sense. Oh, God, I can see his face. It's doing my head in anyway. Some loser who's not playing any games.
Yeah. Anyway, I can't even. I can't think. I can't search it.
That's cool.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. So let's get on to the next game. Obviously, North Melbourne, a bit of an upset there, not winning. Sydney getting over the top. As I said, anyone can beat bloody anyone this year. And so to the next game, this one I was. I think if you look at it from last year's form or even round 1. This result is probably not unexpected, but after what we saw last week, this was unexpected to me, and I'd love to get your thoughts. But Collingwood 12-9-81 beating Saints 5-7-37. I thought it would be closer. Why was
I just want to jump in. I want to take us back to round 1 when Collingwood destroyed the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
And what we said in our review of that game was that Collingwood's capable of having a pressure rating so high that they can just maul a team, but they can't sustain that week in, week out.
They just, no, that's right.
They did that again this week.
Is that what it is? Is that they didn't have that pressure rating last week, and so this week they were able to do it?
No, last week, I believe both teams had that pressure rating.
Okay.
Last week was a really intense pressured game that forced a lot of errors, a lot of turnovers.
And it was just the problem with last week is it was played in the centre too much. There was nothing really on the wings. But so was it that Collingwood was excellent, or was it that St Kilda was bad?
St Kilda, with the talent they have, they're not a bad side.
No, they're not.
They just got pressured so badly in this game that every time they touched the ball, they were getting tackled. They were handballing to the opposition. They were like, you could see on their face they were panicking to the point where in the last quarter, they just looked like, what am I going to do as soon as I touch the ball? You know, it was Collingwood just put a masterclass on here. Grundy I thought he'd struggle with 2 dominant ruckmen, but they can't stop him around the ground, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
You've got to have your ruckman tag him unfortunately.
So Grundy didn't score as well as he normally would have, and that's because he got 4 frees against him. So if you're looking just at his scores, 99 and 103, you say, well, maybe he wasn't that dominant, but he was. He's just good, isn't he? He's just too good.
Still 20 disposals for a ruckman.
20 disposals, 31 hitouts. You know, he is just he's incredible.
Look, side bottom here just turned it on. Amazing.
And how old's side bottom? He must be 33, right?
Oh, I don't know. He's great though. Stevenson is one I want to talk about here.
Side bottom mate, side bottom's 29. What the hell?
Yeah.
Side bottom is younger than me. That's not
Seems
right.
like he's been in there a while. Eh?
That can't be right. That can't be right. Anyway, go on.
Well, remember, I think he debuted the year they won that grand final.
Oh, mate. What, 2010?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he was a rookie that year.
I thought he was 33, 34.
Yeah.
I thought he was. Wow. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, so Stevenson here, he was just like the missing piece that forward line that no one could understand why he wasn't playing. Mm-hmm. But obviously it was a personnel thing for Collingwood where they were taking a hard line and saying, no, you just walk back into a team. You've got to earn it. You know, so it's good to see them use that.
He should have walked back into a team. He should have. He's
100% should have.
He's so good.
He just gave their forward line something that they've been missing, which is that really pacey lead-up target. And for them to be able to hit him the way they do in space all the time is just amazing. But it's because it's got such a burst of speed off the...
Because they've got Collingwood obviously has a lot of smalls. There's a tall in Myercheck. When Cox plays, I honestly think they're a worse team. I don't see how he.
So look, Cox isn't there. Cameron's up there doing a little bit for them, but he is chopping out Grundy in the ruck still, so it's good.
Yeah.
But when you look at this forward line, you do see the similarities between what Richmond's premiership forward line looked like when they didn't have Lynch. Absolutely. It was just Rewalt up there and all these small forwards around them causing chaos and getting that chaos ball. And Collingwood kind of has that same kind of build now with Myercheck being kind of your target.
Yep.
But your Stevenson, Dacos, Degoe, all of them. Just
Elliot,
these young kids. Elliot,
Even Adams from the midfield got 2 goals in this game. So, you know, you're right. This team, this forward line is very redolent of Richmond's premiership winning forward line.
Yeah, that 2017.
2017, not last year. But 17 when they beat Adelaide, 100%.
So it looks like that's kind of how they do play their best footy, but it's about also having for them the control in the middle. So they put the pressure on, but then they get the ball outside to side bottom or Pendlebury, who just always has all the time in the world. These guys, these really good ball users, and this midfield looked amazing.
Yep,
Treloar is coming back.
Oh, mate, I know. But you know what? Yes, their forward line is great. Their midfield is fantastic. But what they're doing that I love, that I think is fantastic, and what Richmond did when they won is their run off halfback. When you have players like Howe, Crisp, Maynard, when you've got these players running, more running off halfback, that's how you win, isn't it?
It's willingness to leave your opponent after you know you've got them beat.
Yep.
There's a lot of players who leave their opponent, but then their opponent gets used in transition and they're like, oh no, I've got to get back now. Mm-hmm. But it's covering for your player, knowing when you guys are going to run off. And you can do that when you're a tight defensive unit who haven't played together for a while. And
they are.
Play.
They're an extremely good defensive unit. And I've always thought the Eagles had one of the best defenses, and they did last year and the year before. But look, the Eagles aren't showing that this year. The defensive unit is not there, but Collingwood, that they've got it. They've got it. Look, Collingwood has across the ground, in my mind, one of the best teams. They have one of the best teams, enough to win the premiership this year. What do you think?
Oh, they're very strong. Yeah. I think for Collingwood, it's about if the game is not played on their terms, then things are going to go pear-shaped pretty fast.
Yeah, but when it is, we see this result, 81-37. When it's played on their terms, they do this.
Yeah. And especially to a team like St Kilda, who we have to say, the personnel they brought in and they're clicking, they're not a bad team.
They are clicking, and they're looking good. And what I like to see in this game is Brad Hill had a fairly decent game. He did 25 touches, and I don't think he's really shown that yet. This game is what he showed it, where he showed it, and I love to see that.
Well, what I'm seeing with St Kilda is that I think Hanbury and him are kind of switching. So when Hanbury has a good game, Hill doesn't. When Hill has a good game, Hanbury doesn't. Mm-hmm. I think when they both have a good team, we're going to see something here.
Yeah.
But Butler
So tell
is
us
the
about
Richmond player they brought in.
Oh, and he was brilliant, wasn't he?
He's given him a lot more in the forward line than I think they even realized they were going to get from him. They brought him in to be like a lock this ball in our forward line kind of player because he's a very good tackle pressure player. But he's giving them an avenue to goal that I don't think they realized they'd get from him.
Yeah, and he's very good. Look, I want to get your thoughts on Max King. Why aren't we seeing what we expected to see from him? What's going on there?
Well, still 1-1.
Yeah, one
he's
goal,
getting he's getting opportunity.
But we're using his name in the same sentence as Rowe and Walsh and Rosie. We're not seeing that. What's happening with him?
Well, he's coming off an ACL for a big man.
Mate, come on, mate. ACL, that's nothing. I've done 4 of them myself. I've got one right now. I'll go do another one out the back.
Yeah,
I've got ACL.
But you're not playing top level AFL. Is
Am
what
I
I'm
not?
saying.
Oh, okay, sorry, mate. I thought I was.
Yeah, So no, it does take, especially for big guys.
Yeah,
it does take a year of playing.
Mate, you don't have to tell me.
back.
I'm a big guy. I'm huge.
I know you're ripped. So that's what I think we're seeing, but we're still seeing a lot from him. And what I think gets people excited about him are the glimpses you're seeing that he takes the ball at its highest point in a marking contest. And because he is so big, like he is a tall guy, no defender can get his hands to the ball when he's taking it at that point.
Yeah.
That he's going to get a free kick because they're chopping his arms. They're coming across, they're taking his head, trying to get near that ball that they can't. He reads it so well in the air. You're talking about Lynch being unable to read it. This guy reads it in the air. So the reason why we're getting so excited about King, and I think too excited, like people need to step it back, is because he dominated before his draft year and he's still showing those attributes in glimpses right now. If so maybe string it.
Yeah, so maybe that's where I'm at, is that I'm hyping.
You're hearing his name too much.
Or perhaps hyping him too much. Yeah.
Yeah. And it comes from the commentators and everything because they're excited and they want to be the ones who call that breakout game for him because they know he's going to have it.
Yeah.
But he's not there yet and we just need to ease up a little on what we're expecting from him. But St Kilda are using him perfectly right now. He's not getting the number one defender.
No, he had Roughhead on him. Yeah.
Oh, he did. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but I mean, you'd probably say the number one defender is Howe, right?
Yeah, I mean, but when you're playing tall, yeah. I mean, because you think about, obviously coming from an Eagles point of view, when West Coast and Collingwood play, Roughhead goes to Kennedy. And Howe goes to Darling.
Yeah, Roughhead was on King yesterday and only held him to 8 touches, 1 goal, 1.
That's about his form line every week. And that's something that from a tall forward, you expect a couple more goals. But if they're kicking the same amount and getting the same amount of ball in wins and losses the same, you're saying, well, this guy's performing average.
He's doing what he needs to do. So let's look at some of the other players then. Dream Team Super Coach, obviously still side bottom, just tore it up. 31 touches, 1 goal. He also had 6 tackles.
So like we said, 31 touches in Corona Bowl.
It's huge. It's almost 40. It's almost 40. And so he got 150 Super Coach points there. Then you had Maynard, 125, Crisp, 114. So those two halfback, those defenders there for Collingwood getting 2 and 3 spot there, 23 and 24 touches.
But what I want to highlight there is if you're actually watching the game, you can see why they got so much ball. It's because the pressure on the midfielders kicking the ball into that forward line, St Kilda didn't have time to think.
Yeah,
every ball was getting blasted away. The Collingwood defenders would just zone off, intercept mark, and then run it out.
Mm-hmm. And so on the other side then, Butler, as you said, 2 goals, 1. He finished with 83 Dream Team points and 124 Supercoach points, 88% game time there. And then Patton and Carlisle, Hill, there's not too much to write home about on the St Kilda side, is there, with Dream Team Supercoach?
Well, Carlisle you look at and you say, well, the ball was in your back line so much, you had to be doing something.
Yeah, So he had, and the reason why he scored so well is 20 disposals, but of that was 16 kicks and 9 marks. So that's why he scored well there. But someone who didn't score well, who you probably would have expected to do a little better, Membry didn't do too well.
Well, no supply is your issue for Membry,
And also on the other side, Chris Mayne, you probably would have thought he would have done a little bit better. Only the 13 touches there, but the thing is, he didn't. I mean, he was at halfback. Where he started at halfback, and they didn't need him to carry the side in the middle. So still side bottom obviously did that. Great. Well, let's move on to, I don't want to run out of time here. Let's move on to the next game, which started, there was two games that started at the same time, 7:40 Eastern yesterday. Let's start with the first one, which was...
Can I just say for a second here?
Yeah,
I really wish they'd stop doing that.
Yeah, me too.
You've got enough spread that you don't need to have a doubleheader on a Saturday night. Like, it makes it so hard. I'm watching games at like 11 o'clock that I know the result for.
Yeah, mate, start the first game in the East at midday and go from there. You don't need to do two games.
They used to do it last year, I'm pretty sure. They had like that Super Saturday where they'd spread them all out. Like,
I don't remember last year having two games at the same time, and I don't like it. I don't want to see it. But the game that I'm wanting to talk about first that we're going to cover was probably the biggest upset of the round, you would imagine. Probably the biggest upset. Geelong being defeated by Carlton by 2 points, 11-11, 77 to 12-7, 79. Anthony, I didn't watch this one. I was obviously watching the Eagles game. You've probably rewatched this game. What did you think?
I have, yeah. So, because I've got such a great life.
No, look,
so busy. That's why
I brought you.
No, I need to say to get the taste of the Eagles game out of my mouth, if I'm honest.
Mate. I just got really drunk. Anyway, tell us about this game.
And this is the thing. All through watching the Eagles game, they had the little score in the corner on Foxtel to say what's happening in the Carlton. And the whole time I'm like, what? I was watching that scoreline tick over the whole time, being like, what's going on there? Like, I should change the channel. So Carlton have been getting lambasted the last lambasted the last week, with everyone realizing that their first quarters have been horrible for years, and it's been driven home.
Probably a decade.
Yeah, and it's like they said, well, you know what? We might actually have a chance if we play well in the first quarter, and that's what they did. They came out firing. And Geelong, it was almost like they weren't expecting it. Like, and once again, we say about like how much the game's mental and how much is physical. And I just think they got jumped here and just took a while to get going. So in saying that, last week we said that Carlton got jumped by Melbourne and then should have won that game. It's the opposite in this one. Mm-hmm. Carlton jumped Geelong, but Geelong still should have won, because that last quarter, they were just peppering away at the goals, missing everything. Gary Ablett missed a goal from 30 metres out, pretty much directly in front of set shot. Gary Ablett doesn't miss those.
Yeah, he didn't have a good game. He did not have a good game.
No, but it's guys like that who you're like, you could usually bank that goal, you know? And to lose by 2 points and have 6 or 7 opportunities in that last quarter where you're saying you should have kicked a goal there. Oh man, I wish we could show vision, because Hawkins kicked this goal that Radigalia jumped up and touched and pushed back into the field of play on the goal line. If he just shepherded it through, they would have won. But he's jumped up and knocked it back. Oh, I couldn't believe it. Like, what are you thinking, mate? You've just cost your team the game. Anyway, oh man, he's had to have money on Carlton. I think they'll pay him like $5. So
they would have been paying a decent amount. But so Anthony, I didn't watch the game, as I said, but looking at the stats here, Pitternet, tell me about him. Tell me about him.
They call him Mr. Worldwide in fantasy circles because he's played for so many different clubs. Yeah.
Oh, he came from Hawthorn last, I think.
Yeah. He's gotten around, and I think they call him Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide. You know, it works for him.
Yeah, it does.
The Pit. He monstered this game. Like, just around the ground, through the middle, and it comes back to Geelong just not having a recognised ruckman.
Yeah, and look, it's one of the things they really need. But even so, Pitternet had a great game last week as well against a recognised ruckman. So can you just put it down to that, or is he the real deal for Carlton?
He might be. I mean,
what's happening?
Yeah, I think Cruz is going to find it hard to get a game when he comes back, because
I've never rated Cruiser anyway. But anyway,
yeah. Look at that. Look, going through the scores and the stats and everything, the one I want to highlight though is Betts, because Betts turned back the clock on this game, kicked 2 goals, but his pressure through the middle on the ball carrier, he won them the game in the last quarter by just putting this amazing amount of pressure on a 2-on-1 situation where Geelong should have kicked goal easy. I think he laid about 3 tackles, a smother, all in the space of about 40 seconds, just until people came to help him. Like, he won this game for them. It was vintage Eddie, and if he does nothing else, he's already worth more than Carlton paid for him.
Yeah,
because he's won them a game.
33 years old. Turning back the clock. He might be older than you, mate.
Yeah, it might be.
We're in the same year.
Keep that up my sleeve.
What month is your birthday?
Look, Martin played all right. Cripps dominated through the middle. And that's where the ball got started and got going from, is that he muscled it out of there. And you look at the players that Geelong have in that middle. It's Selwood, Dangerfield. They've got some good contested players, but because they weren't getting the ball fed to them the way Pitnet did it, Cripps could take control of this game and control that midfield. So, yeah, Doherty off that halfback line just controlled the game from back there, running forward. He's looking really good. Talking about players coming back from ACLs, he's hit the ground running.
That was a real shame when he did his ACL, because he was, I think he was ready to break out, wasn't he? He was.
Well, he just had a breakout season fantasy-wise. He was looking really good.
But as in, he was going to be big. He was going to be amazing for them, and it's great to see him back and showing those signs again.
McGovern's someone that you like to bag out. 2 goals here, and important goals.
Yeah, which is good. You like to see it, but I just don't think he's any good. I just don't.
Well, he stood up in this game and did all right. But yeah, so look, that's what it came down to pretty much, is that I think Geelong should have won this one. Geelong fans would have been thinking throughout last quarter, here we go. It's over. You know, well, sorry, I always said it's Carlton fans would have been thinking that in the last quarter, thinking, oh yeah, this is the part where we lose. It's been a good game. This is where we lose.
Yep.
So for them to hang on was great, but Geelong lost this game because they didn't take their opportunity to win it, if that makes sense.
It does, yeah. So tell us about Jack Stephen. How'd he go?
Nothing. He pretty much blew a gasket after the first quarter.
6
and
touches.
Even in the first quarter, he looked out of breath.
Mm-hmm.
He needs another preseason. I don't think he ran at all during the offseason.
But also, he just got stabbed.
Yeah.
How is he playing? How is he playing? Got stabbed like a month ago.
Well, the short answer is he isn't.
Yeah. How do you get stabbed and then a month later return? I mean, what is Geelong thinking? What are they doing there?
Yeah, I don't know. But he just was fumbly. He was not Jack Stevens. And this guy is good. He's a good player. I expect a lot from him, but he's got to get his head around something, because he wasn't doing it.
Well, and he got stabbed, so.
Well, that too. I mean, how can you really rest on that though? I don't want to give him an easy out.
No, you can't. If he's being picked and he's ready to play,
once you cross that white line, you're a footy player. You're playing. We expect you to play like a football player. Your house getting demolished there, mate. You right?
It's just bloody mum doing stuff. I don't know what she's doing.
What's interesting about this game is that if you break it down, you can see the players who stepped up when Geelong got going. It was Selwood, Tom Stewart across the back line. These guys, Ablett had an amazing. It's almost like they said, "Oh well, we're playing a game. Let's get them going now," and then they stepped up. It's I think Geelong will be really dirty with themselves here, and Carlton stole one, which kind of makes up for the one they didn't win last week.
Yeah, which as you said, they should have won. Melbourne holding out, but look, I mean, perhaps just Carlton holding out. Maybe the teams that get the fast starts are the one that win. I don't know. Yeah. What do you think? Do you think that's?
Well, like we said, if once again, if this game went the full time, I have no doubt that Geelong would have won.
Yeah, and I think that's what we are seeing, is that these shorter quarters are throwing everything out. And as I said when we started, I said it last week, 2 weeks ago, this week, anyone can beat anyone. And I wouldn't be surprised if today, and we're going to get to our previews in a second, but I wouldn't be surprised if Fremantle beat Port Adelaide today. I have tipped Fremantle. I've tipped them. I think they're going to play well. But look, before we get to that preview, let's go to
Do we have to?
No, there was no other games, was there?
I don't think there was, no.
No other games. I think the Eagles had a bye this week. I think they had a bye. Anyway, they looked
played like it. Yeah.
They did. Okay, so let's get to this game. Let's get to Brisbane, West Coast. Anyone that tipped West Coast here? Did you tip West Coast?
I don't tip.
Yeah, okay. I didn't. I tipped Brisbane. Anyone, even if you're...
I bet, and I did put a little bit of money on West Coast because anytime West Coast pays over $2, I put money on them.
Yeah, look, anytime I tip them or put money on them, they lose. So I don't do that anymore. But it doesn't matter. It hasn't mattered. This game, obviously, 30-point winners, the Brisbane Lions, 10-14, 74, 6-8, 44. The Eagles just... Look, what is wrong right now? Can I just
say, even because obviously watching this game, we're both Eagles fans. We look into the game a lot. Watching this game, even at halftime when West Coast was up, I did not think they were winning.
No, I didn't either.
They were led off by Brisbane having inaccuracy in front of goal, and that flattered the scoreline. This shouldn't have even been as close as it was.
No, 10 goals,
10-14 to 6-8.
Yeah.
There was so many times Brisbane missed, and you're like, oh, man, they really let them off there. Neil needs a Brownlow.
Oh,
he's good.
He's getting it. I mean, if we go on the first 3 rounds alone, who else is in contention for it? Seriously.
Oh, yeah, no. It's that he's so consistent as well, but my God, that pick up through the middle at his feet and then fired out the handball to McCluggage on the outside, just as he was folding, he's just so clean below his... Oh, my God.
He's brilliant. And
sorry,
none of the Eagles are clean below their feet, really. I don't even want to talk about what's wrong with the Eagles. They're just...
No, look, all right, we will, because this is rubbish. What we do. It's what we do. Obviously, I analyze stats a lot. I look into game setups and everything. And there's only so much you can read from that. But to be down in contested possessions, ground ball differentials, that all just spells wanting the ball first.
Mm-hmm.
They even lost that in round 1 to Melbourne when they blitzed them.
Yep.
You know, if it's not clean, they don't want to bar of it.
Yep.
And that's a mental thing for one. So I think, park that issue as... all right, well, if it's not clean, they're going to struggle. And then put it with this whole bloody hub situation. Like, I don't want to say they're acting spoiled or whatever the go is, but they just don't look like they want to be on the footy field.
No, they don't. And I don't want to watch it. I don't want to watch them play because it's pretty appalling to see their attitudes out on the field.
It's one of those things where you say that talent doesn't just disappear. Talent doesn't just go away, and this is a talented team.
It is,
you know, and you can see the players who are still. It's not the whole team, but there are still players out there who you were saying you are trying your absolute hardest.
We got Gaff there, obviously.
Charlie Cameron,
yeah,
was amazing. It just didn't have any mates. You know, you don't see people like Hearn fumble as much as they do. Tackles aren't sticking. I've never seen so many broken tackles, and that's half-hearted tackles. That's what the issue is.
To be fair, I don't think the Eagles have stuck tackles a lot. You've got Yo and some in the back line, but and we saw it when we won the premiership in the forward 50. Recently, I don't think they're sticking tackles. I don't see it.
I don't want to dwell on the West Coast here, but the 3 players from yesterday can hold their heads up: Shepherd, Gaff, and Nat Newey.
Mm-hmm.
They're the 3 who all game look like they'll give... Oh, look, I'm going to say Liam Ryan as well.
Yeah, 3 goals there.
Because he was like the only average forward. But one thing I'm going to just touch on here quickly because I want to talk about Brisbane, right, is that... because they deserve to be talked about.
They do.
Is that the thing I hate most about being a West Coast supporter are West Coast supporters. I'm sorry, guys. When you jump on comment sections afterward and you hear these... coaches who are obviously amazing footy players and know everything about the game saying, oh, they need to drop this person. We need to drop Nelson. Nelson wasn't playing, mate. Like, what's Brandon doing out there? He's not up to AFL standard. He's 6 games into a career as a tall player who was drafted as a key position player who is now being told, actually, can you play on the wing?
Yeah, exactly. It's not his position. He's learning, and it's not like he's an established player learning. He's a new player learning.
But he's not terrible.
No, he's not
there
terrible.
Were some things he did yesterday that you're like, that was all right. And I think you got to focus on, for those players, the things they're doing right, not the things they're doing wrong.
Yeah.
Josh Rotham had a dirty game for a lot of it, but had an amazing kick into the forward line to Oscar Allen from that flank towards the end of the game. Petruccelli's the one that got into him. I thought Petch played a great game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like these guys, it's the next level coming through who you need to see that improvement from. You don't see that improvement by saying drop him for someone. You've got to give him a run. So look, I'm just frustrated at what I've been reading online. I shouldn't read the comments. I don't respond to anyone because I'd be there all day. But guys, get your head out your ass. This team won a premiership 2 years ago. They know what they're doing. Calm down.
Yeah.
With the good comes bad, but with the good is Brisbane. Brisbane looks amazing.
When and I thought they were going to drop off a little bit this year. They haven't. They are.
But the reason they haven't is that their kids have taken that next step.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Berry brothers, you can't hold those guys down.
No. And look, Tom, not the best game, but is it Jared?
Jared Berry, yeah, he looked good.
3 goals, 13 touches. He's good.
Dangerous. But also, he slipped tackles like no one was even touching him. Like he had his own ball. McCluggage, actually, he's been a bit down this year. Stepped up big time. To do this without Dane Zorko, they haven't won a game without Dane Zorko since 2012.
Wow, didn't know that.
Yeah. So, yeah, there you go. How's that? Throw that one out there.
So you got a game there too, mate. A. Smith, 37 points, 6 touches.
Yeah.
He didn't have a great one.
He's a backup ruck who actually looked all right when he was up against Oscar Allen, but just dominated when Nick Nat was in there.
Yeah.
Rayner did some all right things too. He's one player who people are like, oh, he's not really developing, not really getting there. But Brisbane are just giving him every game to try and get up there, because he is good. I did like having Luke Hodge in the commentary because he was giving a real insight into Brisbane. Or even Birchall across that back line. I'm a
big fan of Starcevic. I'm a big fan.
Starcevic is a player.
I'm a huge fan.
He's someone who in his junior years was a midfielder, and he's been asked to play as a defender. But you can see he's just got that want for the ball, so that even when he's playing as a defender, he's like, "Oh no, I'm going to run off and I can get the ball here."
Because they had him at a half forward role for the game as well. In a lot.
No, he was running up and not being followed up there. I swear he played. Yeah, positive, mate. He was getting his possessions forward of 50. Yeah, no, he was playing as a defender and running up. I know this because he's in my fantasy team and I watch him very closely.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. No, that's good.
Just like you watch Lynch. And the hard thing is when you're watching your fantasy players play against the team you support, you're watching them and you're like, I want you to get the ball, but okay, kick the goal because you're doing well for me, but come on, man. Like he kicked the goal, I think, on the siren. At halftime that brought them closer or something. Like he's a player. Good ball user too.
I think they had him in the midfield last week, didn't they?
Starcevic?
Starcevic. Or was he playing defense? I just remember watching him a lot on the wing.
Gets a lot of the ball. No, that's what I mean. He runs off, man. He probably does he probably does rotate through, but he's got a license to run. Yeah. And that's what you want. How great was it seeing the Archie brothers?
Yeah, playing against each other.
They've definitely got the better Archie. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Look, I think the Eagles Archie has I think he's okay.
He's got a trick bag.
Yeah, he's got a trick bag, but I think
good
Callum,
mark, good handball.
He's great. He's great with his hands, but I think Callum is definitely a better player.
Yeah. Look, but it was good to see them play against each other, and especially seeing as Brisbane got him for nothing.
Yeah.
Same with Jared Lyons. They got him for nothing as well, and he dominated.
He's a good player.
Yeah, but it's these players who, Daniel Rich off that back line. Anytime he touches the ball, you're like, this is going to be a good kick. Jeez. It's all right. Anyway, Harris Andrews dominated. You could go, like you said about Collingwood, you go through their entire line and you're like, every line is solid. The thing about Brisbane is that every line's solid, but their kids aren't recognised names,
Mhm.
but they're performing to a level where they should be.
Yep.
Like Brisbane needs a lot more respect than they're getting, and they're going to have a great start to the year being in the hub up there, obviously. But
Yeah, and I think they'll continue. I think they'll continue that once it opens up. If it opens up now with Essendon, who knows what's going to happen there. But I think they don't get the respect. Is they're not a Victorian team. We've said it before, but non-Victorian teams very rarely get the respect. And even
just looking into the future here, regardless of how they open up the game for Victoria, blah blah blah, Brisbane's not going to have to travel to South Australia or Perth.
Yep, it's very good for them.
So they've got a good year ahead of them, especially if they can bank wins right now, which they're doing. It's looking all right for them. Obviously they went out in straight sets last year, but they went into that game with one player playing finals before.
Yeah,
for Brisbane.
Which I did call that they would probably go out straight sets purely because of that lack of experience.
But you've got a full team now with more experience.
Yep,
getting in there. How's Mitch Robinson on the wing, by the way?
Yeah. He's just a stalwart, isn't he? He just keeps going.
You would have been watching his fantasy score racking up.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah.
I didn't care. No.
Look, one thing I do want to touch on is that when the AFL makes a rule change halfway through the week, you always see it over officiated the first game back.
Yep.
And then they kind of like change the rule, go too far and bring it back.
Yep.
And we saw that with Jeddah's tackle on, I think it was Barry, where they said driven his head into the ground, driven him down. There's nothing he could have done about that. That wasn't a dangerous tackle. He was already going to ground. You can't stop a tackle when you're both falling already.
Yeah.
It wasn't even pushing the back because you grabbed him on the side. So there was a couple of calls like that where you're like, oh, come on, that's not.
Yeah, you're right, though. They do. They over-officiate it and they bring it back. But I think what happens more often than not is they do over-officiate and it has made the game worse over time. I think the game is, everyone says this buzzword, the game's getting soft, and it is. It's starting to get really soft.
Did you watch the GWS Western Bulldogs game?
Yeah, but they don't want that, do they? That was just the players. That was just them doing it. The AFL does not want that. I want that. Bring it back. I want that. I kept saying it. Bring it back. Let them off the leash a little bit. They're elite footballers. They've signed waivers, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, anyway, look, the Brisbane Lions, very, very good, dangerous. And next week they've got Adelaide, which you would imagine chalking up a win there. But as I've said,
burial.
Well, look, as I've said, anyone could beat anyone, and we'll see what happens with the game today, Gold Coast, Adelaide. I'm not expecting much from Adelaide today. I don't think Gold Coast is going to sort of bring as much as they did last week, but they might. They might surprise.
It's hard. It's hard to know what is going to happen in the minds of these Gold Coast players because they're a young team.
Exactly.
They could be coming into this if they buy their own hype, but
they could get smashed if they buy their own hype.
Honestly, I don't think a first-year player has ever been as important to a team as Rao is to Gold Coast. And I don't think you can tell Rao, don't go as hard, don't buy your own hype, blah, blah, blah. He's not the kind of player, I think, who does buy into hype.
Let him play.
He's going to go hard. He's going to feed that ball out. He's going to get a lot of ball. Yeah. And I think he's going to lead that midfield for them this week. Adelaide can't stop him. They don't have a player to.
They don't have anyone to stop him. So anyway, let's get into that preview then. Gold Coast Suns, Adelaide Crows. It does start in 90 minutes, 1 hour, 28 minutes and 34 seconds until bounce down. And it is obviously up in the Queensland hub. Adelaide flying up there for their first game and also Port Adelaide playing their first game in the hub today. Ins and outs, what have we got?
That's a very good question.
Okay, so I've got him here. So coming in for Gold Coast is two really important players, two big names for them, Brandon Ellis and David Swallow. They're coming in, and who they're missing, who they've omitted, I don't think is that much of a loss in Fiorini and Lemons. So huge names coming in for some not so huge names. That's great, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's what you want. It's that you don't want that selection issue where you're saying, we're going to drop a good player for a good player because this player is slightly better or whatever. Ellis and Swallow are guns. There's no other way to say it. You've got a double premiership player in Ellis who, for Gold Coast, kind of it looks like he patrols kind of that sweeper role,
Mm-hmm.
which all that means is that he's stopping the out. So he's stopping the opposition's midfield from being able to, one, kick out or run out of a stoppage. So when you've got players like Rao, even Anderson on the outside, these midfield players who are win the ball all cost players, they can sometimes not be as defensively minded as you want them to be. So having a player like Ellis in there might be able to stop the bleeding. So that's the idea. He's going to do that this week, I reckon, because all Adelaide has in their midfield is Sloan and the Crouch brothers. And all they know how to do is get the ball and kick or handball. I don't think they've got the tools to win this midfield battle. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I think you're right there. And I just want to say that Brandon Ellis is on my bench. I would have put him on the field if I had known that there was going to be a bye around. Anyway, go on.
Swallow is obviously the other one in there. And he is one of those players that hasn't had the career that people thought he was going to have. And whether it's because he was up in the Gold Coast or what the go is, he has had some injury issues, everything like that. I rate him pretty highly, though. I think he's a really good ball user. He wins the ball he has to. He's their captain. You know, he's a co-captain with Wits. He's dedicated to this club, and he deserves a win. I feel for him that he wasn't in that game last week. But he's one of the players who you could tell will be out there, and the players will want to win for him.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So when we talk about them coming in saying, we might have this one in the bag already or anything like that, it'll be looking to Swallow to say, no, we want to win for him. So I think they've got a bit there. When you said outs, Fiorini not being a big name, I really love Fiorini. I think he gets a lot of ball. He's a great fantasy player.
Yeah, sure, but I don't know that you can hold a candle to him against Ellis and Swallow. Yeah,
well, the thing I'm saying though is that they play different roles, so they haven't gone a like-for-like replacement. They've brought in two players who do play defensively mid-minded, and that could be something that was because Fiorini's more of an outside ball winner.
Yeah, so, and it's probably because of they are playing Adelaide, and you've got the Crouch brothers and Sloan there.
Yeah, so I don't think like last week they won contested ball really easily. You wouldn't have thought they would, but they did.
Yeah.
This week, I think they're trying to make sure if they do lose contested ball, they've got their outs covered.
Yep. So we'll keep talking about this game and we'll get our predictions and we'll do a Sunday best bet as well. But I noticed we've just got a question here from Barclay McGain. Given that it's likely other members of Essendon have contracted COVID-19, what's the likelihood that today is the last day of AFL footy for a few months? So I have some thoughts about that. I don't think that it will be the last of footy. I think now that it's back and now that the broadcast is done and the rights and everything, I don't think they'll cancel it again. I think they'll probably just, if they have to, like Channel 7 said, get rid of Essendon for the season. What do you think, Anthony?
It could even be a case of they say isolate them, blah, 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 and then play their games at a later date if they don't want to rule them out, because they're going to have a lot of angry Essendon fans. Look, I made this joke before personally in our own little thing, but Essendon hasn't really affected the AFL competition for 15 years. What's one more year?
Who cares?
It's just
kick them out. Doesn't matter. Kick them out. Doesn't matter. Yeah.
They're not doing much. We're not going to miss them.
No. And then also just a comment from Barclay as well, going back to the Richmond Hawthorn game. Sorry, I didn't see the question, and I'm not even going to respond to Ben Connolly because it's just the same old crap from him.
I want to know now. What's he saying?
We were just talking about Nat Nui.
Of course he is.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he has a love affair. He has a love affair with the Eagles. This guy, Ben Connolly. There can be two teams playing. Not Freo, not anyone. It could just be two random teams, and he'll bring up the Eagles. He just will. He's obsessed. But from Barclay, Richmond with Dusty Martin is still a top 4 team. I agree. I have to agree. But Hawthorn are very underrated. They played the entirety of last year without the pig himself, Tom Mitchell. Is that why they're looking better this year, Anthony? Is it the Tom Mitchell factor?
I think it's Tom Mitchell plus O'Meara.
Yep.
I think that's what we want to look at. When you've got one and not the other, they do still struggle, but it's having both those players giving them something different, that if one player isn't able to get that, you get it from the other. You know, so I think they complement each other really well. And the fact that they went and got them both in the same trade period might actually show their forward thinking on that. I reckon that's kind of what you're looking at there. And look, I don't feel that I underrate Hawthorn. I might even overrate them. I picked them to play finals this year.
We'll have to revisit our ladder.
God, it's hard to do that with how everything's changed. We can't even know the fixtures.
Yeah, let's revisit our ladder next week. Let's see what we thought and where we're sitting. Let's do that next week. But yeah, Hawthorn, you do rate them. I didn't rate them as highly as you, but I certainly don't think that they're a bad side.
I'm one of the people that fall into that thing of any team coached by Alex Clarkson can't be written off. But with Hawthorn, the thing that gave me the hope with them is that their finish to the season last year was very strong, and they beat about, I think, 4 of the top 6 teams in that run home. Everyone knows what they did to West Coast in the last round, but they beat.
I don't. Tell me what.
But they beat GWS. I believe they beat Richmond and Geelong, all in that run home last year.
They're still very good.
Yeah. What they did to GWS when they went up to the cold and beat them up there last year. That was the grand final team that they beat, a grand finalist. It's what they can do is amazing. I don't ever sleep on Hawthorn, but I think what happened this week is that everyone expects Richmond to click. Everyone knows it's coming. Without Dustin Martin, I know what you're saying. They're still a strong team. They're still a premiership team, but look at their history without Dustin Martin, because he changes the makeup of how they play.
Yeah, he does. And as you said, he is a game winner. When no one else steps up, he will. You know he will, and he always does. Anyway, so back to Gold Coast Adelaide. I've got my money on Gold Coast here. What do you think?
You have to.
You have to, don't you? I mean, but what are you thinking here? Is it going to be close? Is it is it going to be a blowout? What are you thinking?
I think this could get nasty, and simply because that power game last week has given me no confidence in Adelaide at all. Like, they were deplorable.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of similarities between the makeup of Port Adelaide and Gold Coast. And I don't think Adelaide can counter that. You know, I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's a close game because I want to watch a good contest. But I still just don't think that Adelaide have any outside run. And that's where they fall down.
So let's look at the betting market a little bit here. And this may not be your Sunday best bet, but it's certainly, after what Anthony has just said, it's certainly something you might want to look at. Gold Coast by 40 plus, $8. What do you think?
I think it's worth throwing a little bit on that.
Worth a couple bucks, isn't it?
The problem is with the shortened game styles, do they have enough time to kick that margin?
Yeah, it is very hard to win by that much. And Gold Coast is still a little bit of an unknown. I mean, yes, they did beat the Eagles last week, but as we've seen, the Eagles are rubbish. Beating the Eagles right now is not hard to do. I don't think any team would struggle.
So is Adelaide.
Yeah, look, I know Adelaide is. I think Adelaide is an easy beat. I do. I haven't seen anything from Adelaide that would lead me to believe that they're any good.
Look, they're looking like the spoon winners this year already.
I think I tipped them as the spoon, didn't I? It was either them or Sydney.
It was you and I between them and Sydney. We thought one of them were going to go down.
Yeah, I think we can. I think Adelaide is probably going to get it.
Yeah. Looking at the markets there for most points in fantasy. So this is fantasy, not Supercoach.
Yep.
You've got Rory Lair. Matt Rao on $6. $6 to get the most points. And this is because Matt Crouch and Brad Crouch are up there, but they haven't been scoring that well. So Matt Crouch, Brad Crouch, and Riley O'Brien are all ahead of Matt Rao, which is why he's back on $6.
Yep.
$6 to get most fantasy points there. I think he's pretty close to doing that. The other one to look at is if you want to take that little cheeky one, is Tuke Miller. He's paying $10 to get the most fantasy points. Now, in this, this is just in this group. In this setup right now, Tuke Miller's scoring very well because they're using him as a stopper.
Yep.
And he tackles well. And everyone knows 4 points for a tackle in fantasy. You know, if then that tackle gets a free kick, gets a kick, he's got 9 points sitting right there. 10 points, you know, it's worth its weight. So look, they're two to look at for this game if you're thinking about putting anything on.
I honestly, for mine though, the Sunday best bet. If I'm recommending anything, my Sunday best bet is Gold Coast to win by 1 to 39, $2.20 on Sportsbet. That's what I'm getting on. I'm getting on that. And we gave you 3 best bets last week.
Oh well, look at this, man. Go both ways then. Like put a little bit on 1 to 39, so you get your money back, and put the same amount on 39 to 40 or whatever is 40 up.
40 plus, yep.
You know, which you said what's $8?
$8, yeah, it's paying $8, yeah.
So if you put the same amount on both of them, you get your money back if they win by less, and then you get more than you get 8 times or whatever, 6 times because of what you put on the first one.
I mean,
by
obviously,
them going $8
the risk
up.
is if Adelaide wins, but I can't see it.
Of course, but I don't think that's going to happen. But hey, whatever, it's your choice.
And look, and we did do, as I said, we gave you 3 last week, and all of them paid. I'm not saying we're gurus or guns, but that's exactly what I'm saying. So listen to us, do what we tell you. No, don't. I think that's illegal. I don't know. I'm going to be a lawyer. I should probably figure that out.
Gamble responsibly is what you have to
gamble
say.
Responsibly.
Like, yeah, we're going to put a little. You're going to do one of those 1/3 or whatever where you call them lower thirds.
We're not telling you what to bet. We wouldn't dare. But if I were a betting man, and I'm putting $10 on Gold Coast to win by 1 to 39 at $2.20. That's what I'm getting on. All right, Anthony. We've got 10 minutes left. Let's get into the final game of the round. It is obviously Fremantle playing Port Adelaide. This one, I think, will be a fairly decent game. I think we're going to be entertained here. And as I said, I have tipped Fremantle. I've tipped Fremantle. I think that they're going to show a little bit more. Maybe not a great tip, perhaps, but give us your thoughts. What do you think?
All right, so I've sorry Freo fans, I've gone Port, and it's not because I think Freo have actually shown a lot last 2 rounds. If you take it that way, they've come close both rounds. They've kept the game contested and tight and a close score. So I'm not off Freo at all. Where it comes from is that I am so on Port Adelaide, and I said this preseason. I'm pretty sure I said I want to adjust the way we're thinking. This is back when we were in the studio.
You did.
I was like, I think we're sleeping on Port Adelaide. I think they're going to be good, and they haven't let me down so far. So I have to stay on that. Sorry, Freo fans. So I think Port's going to get this done. I don't think it's going to be comfortably, but where I think it's won and lost is I think Port's midfield is deeper.
Yep.
And that's where I think it is. So it's that Freo needs their younger kids to really step up and do something. Your Brayshaws, your Cheras, these guys in the middle. And if they do that, then you go all right. But I think Port, you look at how far they bat in there. They've got Ebert, Boak, Gray runs through there, giving you a lot of like seniority, hard bodies. But then Butters, Dersma, these guys who come on the other level under there just really get the job done, you know. We don't know if Jesse Hogan's playing still. He's listed as an in.
He is. He's an in, but he so obviously was named after some mental health issues, and that's great that he's back. But what was it, 2 days ago, or was it yesterday? Dropped a weight on his head in the gym. Can't catch a break, can he?
No. Lucky, like this is one of those players you just want to see out there, not just for his own benefit, but because he will really straighten this Freo side up. They need him in there to take pressure off Taberner.
Yep.
And to allow Lob to actually ruck the minutes he needs to ruck. So that's a battle I'm looking forward to is Lob versus Lysette. I really want to see how that goes. But I think Lob just gets a lot more ball around the ground and is a really good ruckman around the ground. So that's where I think they have a slight advantage. Lysette tries to, but I think Lob's just too fast for him. I really do.
I agree. I think Lob is the better ruckman of the two.
Ollie Wine's coming in.
Yeah, so Ryan Burton out. He's obviously injured, and Ollie Wine's coming in.
So that's not a like for like.
Nope.
But Wines is once again another midfielder that is going to go deeper than Freo's. So and he has a lot to prove. Wines, he does have a lot to prove here. that does take away from Port Adelaide's backline, but they've been using Houston through the middle. It just means Houston's going to go back, I'm pretty sure.
Back there.
Which for fantasy players, they're not going to be happy about because Houston's been scoring very well as a midfielder. And that's where he gets his score. If he goes back, it's going to be, sorry, guys. Burn Jones and across that back line has looked really good.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they've got a lot of run off their back line. They're feeding it to those midfielders who are doing a lot of two-way running. And Connor Rosie is the person they need to stop up forward.
Yeah, he definitely needs to be stopped. And if I wasn't already out of Supercoach, I wouldn't want that to happen, but it doesn't matter to me anymore. So on the just a couple of more ins for Fremantle. So obviously we said Jesse Hogan. We're not sure if he'll play, but then there's also Nathan Wilson coming in and Sam Sturt. Now I like the look of Sam Sturt. I like the look of him. He obviously can kick. He's playing at half forward today with Taberner there, but I think he might kick a couple today.
He definitely has the option to. But Sam Sturt, and I've talked this guy up, I don't know how much and how many weeks I've been doing it, but he's a player who really gives him a link between forward and mid because he should be a midfielder. He will be a midfielder once he gets size about him, and he's got that like Fife-esque build. So he's going to be a very dangerous forward come midfielder for them. So having him cross half forward makes sense because he'll run up, he'll get the ball coming back, but he'll go deep when the ball's coming in and be an option in the air. I'm not sure that Port actually have a good matchup for him or whether they've thought about matching up on him because once again, he's a first-year player. You don't put much stock into it, So he's a player who could take them by surprise if they use him well. Nathan Wilson across that half-back line is another player who gives them a long kick out of defense, a long accurate kick. Sometimes bites off a bit more than probably should, but with the way Frio's playing now, he's a player who will benefit from it. We've previously that maybe Fife's a player who isn't benefiting from how they're playing now. Mm-hmm. The guys like Walters, Wilson, who have these accurate kicks, who use the ball well and are now being given the license to. Yep. They're the ones they're going to benefit and we're going to see a lot from. So Wilson's a big inclusion into that back line. Griffin Logue, just quickly. Yep. Went on to Charlie Cameron last week and didn't beat him by going one-on-one with him. Like we saw how Shepherd went one-on-one with Cameron and that's how he beat him. Yep. Logue didn't beat him by going one-on-one. He beat him by shepherding him into non-dangerous positions. Yeah. He's a good defender, isn't he, Logue? I think he's definitely underrated. Smart. Very smart. Yeah. He knew that if that ball came near them, he's not going to beat Charlie Cameron one-on-one because Cameron's got him for speed and agility. Yep. So he just didn't let the ball come near him. And it was a good way to do it. It was a very good way to do it. Look, I'm still saying Freo but it might be a bad tip. Port Adelaide might be getting up on that one. I'm on Port on this one, yeah. But it is 6.5 hours, almost 6 hours, 15 minutes away. That's so that is too. It's an 8 o'clock start over there. Yeah, it's a late one, and I'm not sure why it would be so late. But that's what it is. And so just on the betting, Port Adelaide is paying $1.37. Sorry, I do have a reason why it's so late. Sorry, I can clear that up for you. Go for it. Yeah, so they moved the Gold Coast Adelaide game into primetime because of the other game getting cancelled. Yeah, okay. And because they're both being played at Metricon Stadium, they need to sanitize the stadium between games. Sure. Because they're allowing crowds in there. All right, well, that's the answer there. All right, so you're going Port Adelaide, I'm going Fremantle. It's going to be quite the game to watch. But, Anthony, that brings us to the end of the show. We don't have any more time. We need to bugger off. Once again, thank you so much for joining me on a Sunday. It's always good, man. It's always early. It's never that easy, even if you're not hungover. But we do love it, and we love you watching, and we love you tuning in and downloading and listening wherever you are around Australia or even around the world. We have a number of listeners in the United States and in Spain and the like. So thanks very much for listening. We do appreciate it. We will be back next week, Sunday, 10 a.m.
to cover all of next week's rounds games, just as long as they go ahead. We'll see what happens with Essendon and see what comes out of that.
Positive, just not
Stay
COVID
positive. We'll see what comes out of that. We'll keep you updated on our Facebook page and on Twitter. So Behind the Goals or BTG on DRN1 on Twitter. So once again, thanks very much for listening, and we will see you